As long as it's logical, that's all that matters.
There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come.
By the early 60s, real life was pressing close on science fiction's heels. In January 1961, President Kennedy announced America's intention of landing a man on the moon before the end of the decade. As America's Apollo program stepped up pace, space fever intensified. If anything, more strongly in Britain because, after all, we didn't have to pay for it. Every child in the playground wanted to be an astronaut.
We must have all sat down and written essays about what we thought life would be like in the year 2000. And we all assumed that, we'd be able to go to the moon in the way that kids were just about starting to be able to go to Marbella.
And then in 1968 came a movie that united space-obsessed kids and 60s adults alike. 2001: A Space Odyssey, written by Arthur C. Clarke and directed by Stanley Kubrick.
We just got together and talked in the small hours, and there was never any blood on the floor that I can recall, but his simple objective, just to make the best science fiction film ever, which I think he achieved.
2001: A Space Odyssey is an account of human evolution, from the remote past into the distant future. It's even more ambitious in its scope than Childhood's End, but includes the same idea that an outside force will intervene in human evolution.
The whole idea of mankind's evolution being shaped by aliens, it's almost like Arthur C. Clarke has a copyright stamp on that. It's in Childhood's End, of course it's in 2001.
We hoped it would stretch people's minds, and that indeed is what it did.
Did it stretch your mind?
To the breaking point.
There are aliens who you never see in the film, but they're represented by this black monolith, which is some sort of teaching or communications device.
You get this alien intervention, which, as it were, prompts our simian ancestors to begin the ascent to humanity and the development of technology and thus the development of space travel.
Arthur's vision is very, in the end, optimistic. He is cynical enough to realize that mankind would resist, but Arthur is on the side of the aliens. He always says it's for your own good. I think Stanley Kubrick didn't feel entirely that way. I think that's why 2001 is a greater work than Childhood's End, because it has an ambiguity built into it.
Towards the end of the film, a lone astronaut is projected into the universe, rather like Olaf Stapledon's anonymous Star Maker hero of 30 years before. He travels to Jupiter and beyond the infinite, and is reborn into the next stage of evolution.
The way this is symbolised in 2001 is the final image of the embryo, that we have reconceived the present state of human beings as a kind of embryo in the womb. This is not a kind of end product of evolution. We have, as it were, just got nearly to the beginning. We are just about to start.
I think what he really does is continue this project further of making these awesome ideas of cosmology and evolution emotionally alive. Throughout his best fiction, Clarke has always had a spiritual side in the very deep sense of a quest for meaning, a yearning. He did grow up in a religious family, but I think he's actually anti-religion now. He's anti-organised religion. And yet the paradox is, his fiction is full of quests for godhood of some kind.
Since H.G. Wells, British science fiction had been exploring the effect of evolution on the meaning of life. Wells created a godless universe, with decay as likely as progress. Stapleton conjured up a kind of blind watchmaker, tinkering blithely with evolution. In 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clarke and Kubrick seemed to reinvent an old-fashioned spirit in the sky. For centuries, people had been imagining what it would be like to leave the gravitational pull of the Earth. At the tail end of 1968, it happened. The moment when reality overtook science fiction. Millions watched as the Apollo 8 astronauts became the first men ever to leave the Earth's orbit. As Clarke famously said at the time, "We are now living in the future." But within 3 years, the Apollo program was over. In the real world, space travel, disappointingly, depended on budgets.
I thought there'd be much more space travel than there has been. Of course, that was a failure of imagination, I suppose. I mean, that's what science fiction is all about, you see. Mapping possible futures and warning us against futures which we should try to avoid.
Since Wells, British science fiction writers have been imagining our futures, speculating, warning, and entertaining. Above all, they have tossed the idea of evolution into the air. What will man change into next? And what will it be like?
Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro, go.
Homo superior may not be far behind.
Go, Econ, Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your...
And there's more next Monday at 9. Tonight, a mysterious radio signal transmitted from deep within the constellation of Andromeda could spell disaster and destruction for the entire human race. This year's adaptation of the classic 60s science fiction, A for Andromeda. Next.
Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.